This is a special gathering that we have here today. Today is a follow-up on a number of issues that we as institutions agreed to work together on in Working Together Jackson for the benefit of the city. Mayor Yarber agreed to not only work together with us on our issues that we identified, he also promised to, from time to time, to communicate with us, to give us updates, to answer our questions. And it was at such a meeting in June that the mayor agreed to come back to speak to us today. There were representatives from Working Together Jackson that met with him on Monday, and then again on Tuesday to give him the questions. You have a copy of all the questions on the back of your bulletin today, and we're going to move through these and just give the mayor an opportunity to give us response. So for the first issue, I'd like to invite Mr. Alvin Buckley, and then we'll follow the program from there.
Mayor Yarber, you and your staff have worked with us from the beginning to develop Jackson 500 as a labor market intermediary designed to meet the needs of local employers while connecting local residents to training for living wage employment with career paths and benefits. We are now at a critical time where we have students graduating with specific skills ready for living wage employment. Working Together Jackson is hiring 2 workforce project organizers. Will you commit a person from your staff to connect these graduates to jobs funded through the city's 1-cent sales tax program? And will you appoint a person to work with our staff on employment opportunities beyond these construction jobs?
First of all, let me thank everybody for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to address Working Together Jackson and to let you know exactly what's happening in your city. I want to thank not only Working Together Jackson, but those of you who are a part of this city, whether you live in the city of Jackson or whether you work in the city of Jackson or you see this as a place that is your extended home. I want to thank you and welcome all of your input on making our city exactly what we envision that it can and should be. Let me address the Jackson 500, which is probably one of our flagship programs that we have been able to initiate with Working Together Jackson along with our other partners. To answer your question directly, absolutely. We are actually already ahead of the game. We've had a young man named Jonathan Barnett who has been spearheading our Jobs for Jacksonians program that has, over the last 18 months, seen 1,100 Jacksonians receive jobs through our specific and very intentional placement of programming, which has seen the city of Jackson go from having a 7% unemployment rate to 5% unemployment, which is below the state average. What we've also done is been very intentional in crafting requests for proposals, as well as in crafting our contracts. Well, we say specifically to contractors, specifically to vendors, that if you're going to have contracts that from the city of Jackson, that you are obligated to hire our folks. And not only are you obligated to hire our folks, but you're obligated to hire folks who come out of our Jackson 500 My Best program. Not only that, but you're also obligated to hire folks who have criminal records. So you're obligated to give our Fresh Start program a start in your program. And so we've seen this commitment work. We are committed to ensuring that this commitment goes even further. I'm stopping.
Mayor, the next topic is Housing Trust Fund. And in the meeting with Working Together Jackson on Monday, you committed with Working Together Jackson to set up an advisory committee for the existing Housing Trust Fund. So the question for today really is, that's an easy one. The question for today is, how are we going to fund the Housing Trust Fund that's set up in the city of Jackson? And will you commit to talking to the state and Mississippi Home Corporation, who manage the federal funds that come to the state of Mississippi?
Well, again, thank you for the meeting on Monday where we actually were able to get some clarity on how do we move forward with the Housing Trust Fund. We've already have the enabling local legislation that gives us the ability to do so. The city of Jackson is the only municipality in the state with an actual housing trust fund. Now what we have to do is to pull together the governing body. What I've done is asked Working Together Jackson to assist me with that by sending recommendations of folks who could serve on that particular body. And as we pull our self-governance together, we're able to approach the state, particularly the governor and those folks who have appropriation authority, to help us with the windfall that will come, or that has come, for housing trust funds around the country and specifically to the state of Mississippi. So we are looking forward to receiving those recommendations, so that as the mayor, I can put those before the city council so that those can be approved and we can move ahead with our commitment to this housing trust fund.
Good afternoon, Mayor Yarber. You will have 15 minutes to show a video on the progress on the sales tax infrastructure program, also to give us an update on the water sewer program. We understand that this program has not been ran at a satisfactory pace, but we would like an update on the progress and the remaining problems that need to be solved. Also, we would like your commitment to meet with us again to give us another brief update on December 8th, which is our Delegates Assembly meeting on December 8th.
All right, so why don't we do it this way? I want to briefly just introduce a video. It's not going to take 15 minutes, I promise. It's a brief video that we showed at our last public meeting where we gave an update on the 1% sales tax, where we had, wish we'd had this amount of people there. But we want to give an update to you so that you can know exactly what's happening with your 1% dollars. Then I'll come back and give you some specifics in the remaining minutes that I have. So at this time, we'll view the video.
You decided change is necessary and good for Jackson. On January 14, 2014, 9 out of 10 Jackson voters approved an extra 1% sales tax to pay for needed repairs to roads, bridges, sewer, and other infrastructure improvements. And now Jackson is well on its way to becoming a bold new city. A look now at just how this journey to our bold new city began. After that landmark vote in 2014, the city needed a plan. Jackson Mayor Tony Yarber began citywide listening tours to hear your ideas.
The purpose of the tours is to give you an opportunity to talk to us. We have been extremely excited about the feedback that we've been getting.
That same year, a commission was put in place to make sure your money is spent wisely and effectively.
As a member of the 1% Sales Tax Commission, we have the responsibility of working to look at the projects before us, determining the revenue, how the revenue will be directed, and prioritizing that.
Among those priorities, fixing potholes. The commission agreed to use some 1% money for the work, and in May of this year, Mayor Yarber announced a pothole blitz.
So behind us, you see a pothole patching machine. You see men who are out as a part of the crews that we started beefing up to go by ward in order to see that many of these issues are being dealt with.
Those potholes will soon be dealt with a lot faster. The city is also using 1% sales tax money to buy a new $240,000 pothole patching machine and is purchasing a new vac truck. Both should roll into Jackson this fall. The city is also resurfacing roads and has kick-started Operation Orange Cone. It covers neighborhood and major streets and pothole patching in all 7 wards. Now, within 3 months of announcing this project, sections of more than 20 streets have been resurfaced with your 1% sales tax dollars.
I think it's wonderful because these streets have been in terrible shape for so long.
Operation Orange Cone will continue through early fall of 2016 and will eventually cover streets citywide. And sections of other streets getting a makeover with 1% sales tax money: Forest Hill, McClure Road, Watkins Drive, and Lynch Street Extension. The city put up $600,000 in matching funds to help repair them as part of an interlocal agreement with Hinds County.
Very, very important. I'm glad that they're doing it. It shows that we got responsible leadership.
Soon you will see some major streets in better shape too. The city has agreed on 4 major roadway projects to implement during year 1. State Street, West County Line Road, Medgar Evers Boulevard, and Riverside Drive. Design consultants have been hired for each and are already sketching out ideas. Some include multi-use paths. You can walk, ride your bike, or even jog while safely sharing the road with cars. These proposed designs that you see here, State Street. Consultants showed them off to area residents during a June listening session and asked for comments or other suggestions. Construction could start next year. And more than roads are in better shape now thanks to your tax money. Bridges are too. With the snip of that ribbon, the Hanging Moss Road Bridge reopened in June.
We are excited. This is not only time saving, but it's safer to us to drive. That's most important.
The bridge was closed in 2015 because of structural damage. Nearly $400,000 of 1% sales tax funds were used to return it to motorists.
This was made possible because you made the decision to have a sacrifice. Y'all chose to raise your taxes, so when we had situations like this bridge going out, we would have the resources not to have to beg the state or beg the federal government, but to take care of this problem ourselves.
Here's another problem bridge approved under Year 1 to be taken care of with your 1% money. The Robinson Road Bridge. A consultant is coming up with a design to replace it, and construction could start this fall. Other bridges approved under Year 1 are Mays Street Bridge, Ready Mix Street 2 Bridge, and Country Club Drive Bridge. And you may remember back in 2013, the city came up with a master drainage plan. It was used to help identify drainage projects that should be fixed with 1% funds. 14 were selected for Year 1, but because there is not enough money for all of them, that list had to be narrowed. The 6 most critical ones listed here will be repaired under Phase 1. Design consultants have already been hired to start that process. The other 8 will be repaired once money becomes available. And there is a lot of money going to repair water lines, too. The 4 selected for improvements under Year 1 are listed here. Design consultants are already on the job and are working on ways to improve the water lines on Lawrence Road, Hanging Moss, and Woodell Drive. But in the Eastover Drive area, construction crews are already at work after a July groundbreaking.
2, 3.
All right, we have a water line that has experienced at least 20 breaks over the last year that is now being replaced.
This will be upsizing the water lines to 12 inches, basically from Frontage Road all the way to Ridgewood Road, which will be a great benefit to our development that we have here, the district at Eastover, as well as our state facilities and the residential facilities.
Michael Berner is a 1% commission member and spoke at the Eastover groundbreaking.
We're really excited to see this project underway. We've got a lot more projects in the pipeline that we're ready to get going.
The mayor and city council members are moving fast to help get those projects going too. Most recently, during their August 23rd meeting, they gave the go-ahead to hire contractors to repair sections of 6 more major streets: Ridgewood, Briarwood, Northside, Raymond, McRaven, and Gallatin. As of now, the city has collected over $33 million in sales tax revenue and obligated about $30 million of that. Now, it's worth note to mention that the city uses an integrated planning approach to understand and strategically address the infrastructure needs for roads, bridges, water, and wastewater, as well as stormwater improvements to ensure that all the community's aspirations are taken into account. Adopting this approach ensures that the city does not compromise your water quality and environmental conditions and puts in place safeguards to ensure that your tax dollars are spent on much needed projects. By adopting this approach, the city is making sure that triple bottom line benefits in social, economic, and environmental sectors are achieved to promote sustainable development. A lot of work ahead, and to finish it all is expected to take another 15 to 20 years. But for Mayor Yarber, perhaps he summed it up best during his 2016 State of the City address.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is progress.
And you can keep up with what's going on the 1% Project by following us on Twitter at WeAreJackson or by visiting us online at data.jacksonms.gov.
So these are just some of the things that are happening with your 1% sales tax dollars. Let me give you just an understanding of how all of this works. There is a 1% sales tax commission who is tasked by the state legislature with approving all of the projects. As a matter of fact, I just left a meeting that started at 9 o'clock and we went there to almost 11:30. Going through project by project, looking at the finances, looking at the projects themselves, understanding how these projects are not only being prioritized, but also how they are being selected. What are those selection criteria and what do they look like? Once this committee approves these projects, they in essence approve the actual funding. To date, year to date, we have collected just under $34 million. $30.8 million have been obligated. So that includes equipment, it includes water line, it includes street resurfacing, it includes potholes. The other part of that, and bridges. The other part of the conversation is how do we want to spend your money? At the end of the 20 years, we assumed that anywhere from $225 to $270 million would have been collected. But when you consider the fact that we have a $2 billion infrastructure problem that is older than your mayor, you should understand that $270 million is only a drop in the bucket. So the question becomes, how do we leverage those funds? How do we leverage your money so that we're able to do more faster? And as we have that conversation about how do we do more faster, it's important that you understand that we have looked at leveraging those funds through federal as well as state grant opportunities. You heard about State Street and the West County Line Road project. Well, those are being partially funded through your 1% sales tax as a leverage. We received the $16.5 million Tiger grant in order to do West County Line Road as well as State Street. Well, that money required some funding that we had to pull out of the 1% sales tax. We've used it to partner with Hinds County. $600,000 of your money went to provide a match for a grant that Hinds County received. A lot of that money, as we make more conversation about how do we leverage it, will be done as we're now in conversations with a international banking organization. And how do we see this money being leveraged to pull in some more upfront money? Right now, we're looking at anywhere between $800 to $100 million to be able to put out on the streets in the next 2 years. So this 1% sales tax is more than just about what do we do right now. It's actually more than how do we solve the nuisance of potholes right now. As you heard, we have water line issues. The water line issues at the end of the day are really what are causing what I call the symptoms of the matter, which is our potholes. Potholes don't just occur. These potholes happen, number one, because we have issues under the ground, because we're losing 40% of our water every time we send water from the plant to your homes or to your businesses. And where is it going? It's going in the ground. And you couple that with these issues that we have with Yazoo, clay, then we compound that even more with the fact that we have seen deferred maintenance with our streets, and in some places, like in subdivision number 2, where streets haven't been paved in over 40 years. And so you consider all of that with the 1,200 lane miles of street, family, we have a lot of work to do. But what we have seen is that progress has begun and that the momentum is there. In 7 wards across this city, we're seeing street resurfacing take place. In wards all across this city, we're seeing water line replacements happening, like on Wooddale Drive, where they only have 2-inch water lines, and of all of the homes on Wooddale Drive, there is not one fire hydrant. So if a house caught on fire on Wooddale, we would have to run a line from an adjacent street before we ran out of the 500 gallons that were on the trucks. So we are doing a complete water line replacement on Wooddale. These are things that affect people's quality of life. Or where we're doing drainage replacement. In places like Brook Hollow, where the 40 homes that whenever that creek floods, they're cut off from any access, so that if there was an emergency personnel vehicles could not get there. So these are the things that we're making a priority. So it's not just about streets, it's not just about water lines, and it's not just about drainage, but it's also about bridges that you cross every day. You saw Country Club Drive, where we took a sensory tour, and I got to stand eye level with that bridge. And I don't want to scare you, but I want to make you aware that as I was watching that bridge and a city water truck went across it, the bridge shook. Ladies and gentlemen, we have over 50 of these bridges in the city of Jackson right now that do the same thing. So our problems are many, but progress has begun. And we are not only working, but we're working with a smaller crew than we've ever had working on this, or not ever, but a smaller crew than we've had in a very long time getting this work done. Potholes, we've seen 65,000 of them filled. Well, I know when you say we got 3,065,000 in anything, but what it does is that it speaks to progress. Finally, I think it's important that we talk about this water situation, specifically your water bills. In 2012, this city adopted a contract with Siemens. And when we adopted a contract with Siemens, the idea was that we would get in new water meters that will read at about 99% accuracy. And please forgive me if I go over my time. I'll only go about 45 seconds, but I think this is important. These new water meters were supposed to come in and read at about 99% accuracy and to replace the water meters that were reading in some cases below 85%, which would in turn increase the revenue that the city was bringing in. Not only that, but it would also cover some water line replacement projects. It would also cover water line replacement projects. But it would also bring in a new billing system, which quite frankly, the billing system has been one of the most atrocious implementation programs that this city has ever seen, because it's impacting people, not only poor people, but people all over this city alike. Well, we've already seen a rate increase that happened in 2013, where your sewer rates went up by over 100%, and your water rates went up by over 20%. And when that happened, the city, you all encountered what they call rate shock. And that happened because there was no systematic implementation of a water rate increase that was mandated by your bond covenants when we borrowed money in order to do these water line replacements that happened years ago. And so here we are in 2016, where people haven't been getting their bills in months. Here we are in 2016, where you've been seeing your bills estimated. Here we are in 2016, that when you finally get your bill, it's $900, $1,000, $2,000, and you don't have the money to pay the 1/3 down payment that you have to have in order to get on the payment plan. So here's what we've done, and here are the things that we've been able to remedy as a result of that. Number one, no one should be receiving an estimated bill anymore. We've cured that problem. Number two, if you have received an estimated bill and you are part of that 17% that we have determined, who have received estimated bills that are above the amount that you should have received, we're going to credit you back to your account the money that we owe you. Number three, you're taking up my time. Number three, if you have not received a bill, we are now giving you the opportunity to be able to go online, see your bill every day if you want to know what's happening, so that way you don't have to stand in a line down there at the Water Sewer Billing Administration and waiting on somebody who hopefully we're working on now, who would have a better attitude than they've had in the past when they're dealing with you, the public. Number four, or number five, I forgot which one I was at. My mama, and I'm done, had a $900 water bill. I had no clue that when she went down to try to get on the payment plan, it was going to cost her $300 to get on it. Well, when she called me, she said, Tony Yarber, you lost your mind. I don't have $300. She said, y'all need to do something about this. So I called our folks and I challenged them. I said, we need to do a better job to encourage people, to incentivize them to pay their bills and to pay them on time. So ladies and gentlemen, we've started a new payment plan program that you can enroll in from September 15 until December 15. And what it clearly says is this: if you are behind on your payment and you are one of our senior adults, we're just going to ask you to give us $50. That gets you on the payment plan, and then you've got a year and a half to pay us back. If you are not a senior, we're going to ask you only for 15% of your outstanding bill. You keep up with your current bill, and we're going to work with you for the next year and a half to get your bill paid off. What am I saying to you? What I'm saying is that we hear you, and we have heard you. We're doing what we need to do to make sure that you are no longer the victims of a mistake where fingers can be pointed all over the place. So I want to encourage you that while things have looked bleak and while they have looked not in your favor, that the folk who work with and alongside me are keeping you in mind every day as we go about trying to cure many of the ills that we have seen and have experienced as a city. Thank you for my 45 seconds.
Good afternoon. I'm Shirley Harrington, and as the Social Justice Ministry leader coming from Cade Chapel, and having returned to Jackson, retiring just last year, Mayor, from the Secretary's Office of Communication, this area is very dear to my heart because I know you're making some positive progress and that there are a lot of things going on that we need to know about. So this past Monday, you made a commitment to us that the 40-member group that Working to Jackson represents could be utilized and that we would be working in partnership with your office. So today we want to know about that commitment and how we can utilize what you see going on here today. Mr. Perry told me that we have over 180 leaders in the House. That should happen. And this was with a little notice of what we as Working Together Jackson can do. And so we would like your response as to our commitment. I was told that the newsletters that you have already prepared on the table for people to take today, and we want to know how we as Working Together Jackson can work with your staff and your point person.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is probably the highlight of our meeting on Monday. You know, there's an old saying that bad news screams and good news whispers. There are a lot of good things that are happening in your city, and I think that we need to come together to start talking about those in a more collaborative way and in a more succinct way. One of those ways is we need you to help us to get the good news out that's happening in this city. We need you to help us to tell people about the kinds of things that are happening, like the 6 streets that we're getting ready, 6 major streets that we're getting ready to do, that include Raymond Road and Greenway Drive over on both sides of Lowe's as well as on by Walmart, and how we're getting ready to do Ridgewood and Briarwood. We need those kinds of messages going out. As a part of that, what we've asked is the creation of what I like to call ambassadors, where those ambassadors will come from among this group, where you will be privy to actual staff meetings where you get the opportunity to get all of our talking points, to know exactly what we're doing, to get out and talk about those things with us. The next thing is we need you to know where our information is coming from. You need to be plugged in. We have a website that has received an increase of over 500,000 additional hits in the last 2 years. And that's happened because people are starting to engage it. It is www.jacksonms.gov. Social media folks, we need you on our social media sites, sharing our information. We are on all social media at WeAreJacksonMS. And as also we have a PIG network that we want to challenge you to go to, and there's a data site where you can get all of the information you need about every project that we just talked about. That's data.jacksonms.gov. Hopefully I'll have some time to talk with each of you at some point after this to talk, data.jacksonms.gov. open.gov. As a matter of fact, that's our new data portal that we've launched. And the city has received international rave reviews. Members of my staff have traveled to Italy, have traveled to London to talk about the work that Jackson has done, and we are leading and modeling in the country on open data in this effort.
Mayor Yarber, we'd like to thank you for being here today and for keeping your commitment to communicate with us.